core is.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, first of all, like, about the inception of Core. So, like, how the idea first came about, and, you know, what was the conversation that sort of instigated it all?
Oh, that's a good question. Loaded question, Deb.
It's not loaded.
Well, there's a few questions, a few bits in there. So
Yeah.
the first conversation, I have to give all credit to Theo, because I think this was an originally came as an idea from.
I won't take all the credit. It was a few conversations. I'll jump in just because the initial conversations. I remember I went to a Wire conference and I saw Jane giving a talk. Jane from the MRS, giving a talk on all the great work that Wire has been doing. She went on to talk about what Pride were doing, and there was a small mention of the things that they're interested in doing with BAME. And you know, I messaged her afterwards, said, you know, it's really interesting. Is there any way I can get involved? And she said, you know, we're working on some things. I'll let you know if there's anything coming up. And then after the MRS Awards, a girl who I had never spoken to, a woman who I'd never spoken to before, Melissa Gonzalez, one of the co-founders, she put together a LinkedIn group. And that LinkedIn group was BAME in market research. Okay. And you know, that was basically also, again, saying after the awards, I looked around and I couldn't see anyone who looked like us, you know, so I thought that we had put together this group. And I invited Bob to that group. And then I bumped into Bob at Quirks and he said, you know, this is really interesting. What do you think? Blah, 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 blah. So Bob and I, we met up at a Chelsea game at the stadium and just started talking through some ideas. And we said, you know, maybe we could put together like a dream team to try and create something. And that's where we then started reaching out to everybody. And this is where, you know, as we were reaching out, it's like everyone's been having the same conversation, just separately. You know, all been having the same sort of experiences, all been having the same sort of idea that something needs to be done. And, you know, maybe we should be the ones to do it. So then we all, I think the final dream team was put together at the end of the Impact conference, where we got up to the 8 of us and we said, okay, let's have a Zoom meeting, because this was just as Corona was really kicking off and lockdown just started. We had our first Zoom meeting, started discussing ideas, and from there it's just snowballed into what is now, I think, bigger than any of us really expected it would become. So it's been really exciting last few months.
That is exciting. It's brilliant that you're doing this. So tell me, what is Core's purpose? And
so Core's purpose is basically to increase ethnic diversity within the research industry, and that's something that I think all of us have our own personal experience of, you know, kind of looking around at networking events, you know, and as we've kind of progressed up the career ladder, as it were, you know, you kind of look around and you don't really see anybody that looks like you, or looks like us, as it were. So yeah, Core's real aim is to increase this diversity, literally from the junior levels upwards, all the way up to the top decision-making levels. And we plan to do this ideally through a few initiatives. So we've got one being the mentorship. So that is to pairing up, you know, established people in the industry with the kind of grassroots entry-level people. So that could be even students who are taking marketing degrees or another research-related degree, or it could be like the junior entry-level roles, and really just putting them together so that they can share their joint experiences from somebody who they can really identify with on a personal level. Another thing we've got going is as a podcast. So that's going to be showcasing talent from within the BAME community who are obviously in research, and then obviously trying to put them out there to raise engagement. we have some more things. So we've got fundraising events. We have our launch event that's coming up on the 29th of this month. So please do get your ticket on our website. It's completely free. Yeah, we've got an online DJ and other fun things going on, so we'd love to have you there. So that's going to be the first of many events and fundraising initiatives that we'll have. Another thing that we've most recently added is our City Rep Pledge. So that is basically that's a more tangible, measurable way for companies to really get involved. So we're basically challenging the national rep. So the national rep average obviously measures the ethnic diversity on a national average, but then the city. So our suggestion is to turn that into a city rep pledge, where it's showcased the ethnic diversity by city. Because obviously, if you take the UK for example, if you're looking at the ethnic diversity as the UK as a whole, it's something very low, maybe like 13%. But if you look at London specifically, it's a lot higher, 40, maybe 50%. So we're challenging companies to look to evaluate their employee structure based on the city rep, not the national rep.
I was going to say, and just to add to what Natalie's saying, I think we recognize that, you know, we can have the maximum sort of effectiveness if we also work with organizations. So linked to the city rep, what we're trying to do is have strategic partnerships with organizations and companies in market research to help them be more inclusive when it comes to ethnic people from ethnic background, essentially. So what we want to do is sort of work with them to actually understand how they can get more people to actually enter their company, how they can be more inclusive within the company. So people that actually work in their company, how can they make it a better place for people of an ethnic background to work there and actually rise up and become the future leaders of tomorrow.
Obviously in the context of Black Lives Matter and inclusion and diversity as a whole, what do you think are the main challenges for the research and insight industry?
I think there is partly a perception problem of the industry as a whole. I don't think many people in general grow up saying, I want to work in market research. And then when you look at people of an ethnic background, it's probably exacerbated, right? It's probably even more of a problem. So I think for us, that's one thing that we want to look at. How do we make market research more accessible to people who are uni students, apprentices, people who just finished school, for instance, to allow them to have the avenues to actually join the workforce and join agencies, you know? So that's a large strand of what we're hoping to do, provide support, advice, and also show that the industry is not just people holding clipboards, answering questions on the street. You know, it's data science, it's, you know, it's panel companies, it's digital, it's technology. There's a whole wide ranging sector out there that I think a lot of people don't know about, and especially people from our background, you know, of an ethnic background. So I think that is one of the big challenges that we're hoping to get over, and you know, we're quite confident that we can get there in the next few years.
I think there's a bit of a sense of helplessness among people who are not from an ethnic background, in that, you know, and this perhaps links back to what you were saying with the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, you know, I think that a lot of, obviously the industry is very white right now, and a lot of people do really see it as a problem, but they perhaps don't really know how to respond, how to help. They don't want to, you know, it's treading on eggshells a little bit. They might feel like it's a bit of a minefield, really, of, you know, how they can get involved. So a lot of them might stand back a bit and, you know, not say much. So we stepping up and doing something about it is good in that, you know, because we are of that makeup, we don't have to, you know, we can be quite unapologetic really in what we say. But it's also, you know, trying to be inclusive in ourselves. We've set up quite a few different allyship opportunities whereby we can really bring everybody on board, whether that be, you know, them sponsoring us or actively getting involved, you know, volunteering, or we have something called a masterclass program, whereby, you know, obviously the mentoring is for us, by us. I think that's important because you have to have that shared experience, you know, to really be able to empathize with someone who's had to walk in those shoes. It would make sense that you should have walked in those shoes yourself. But that doesn't mean that someone who's got a specialist skill doesn't have something of value that they can contribute and help us to really raise the skill set and raise these mentees in their careers. So we'll be including people who wanna contribute from any walks of life.
Yeah, I mean, what you said at the beginning about just now about kind of people, it being a minefield and people sort of treading on eggshells, I think, yeah, I've definitely sort of seen and felt that from conversations that have been had online and just generally. Yeah, and you can see people, and I guess I would include myself in this as well, you're not always sure what is the best way to kind of approach a situation, or people with how to respond to people with quite different attitudes to your own. And I do believe that there is a real fear about people saying like the wrong thing, or so I think education for us all is going to be really, really key here to sort of moving forward, breaking down some of the barriers. So
I think that's another thing that we're trying to do as well, just trying to make the conversation more comfortable. It's okay to have these, frank conversations. I'm black, you're white, it's fine. We can go from that point and, educate each other. And we were having an interesting conversation the other day, and someone was saying that, even in their company, they don't even see maybe diversity even as an issue, because it was somebody who had a company in Germany, and they were saying that they don't even see diversity as an issue, because around them everybody is of the same as them, and it's kind of like, I really forgot where I was going with this point.
Well, were you going to say that they don't see it as an issue because it doesn't affect them, and therefore they don't think it is an issue?
So maybe just about challenging those kind of unconscious bias and just making the conversation more comfortable to have. I've been thinking so much and talking so much about unconscious bias recently, and I've challenged my own ways of thinking about things as well, and I'm very happy to admit that, because I think we all have these unconscious bias. They're built into us because of the society we grow up in, and not acknowledging that they exist is just kind of pushing it to aside and ignoring it, really, isn't it? And until you can actually acknowledge it, you can't really do anything to change it.
There's definitely that, but I think the unconscious bias, it resides in us as well. It's all about changing the narrative. We want this movement to inspire people of ethnic minority backgrounds who might have seen that glass ceiling as something that can't be broken, or not even, if you don't see it, then you can't achieve it, because you have to see it to believe it. So this is where all of our efforts to try and, further these ethnic minority professionals in their career and get them to the top levels, to the senior levels, or even inspire them to create their own companies and be the bosses. That will then let that next generation look up and say, there's people who look like me who've done it. I should be able to do it too then.
In terms of changing the narrative, to what Theo was saying, it's largely part of changing the narrative, but also just changing the outlook in the picture. So I think when you go to conferences, events, market research, sometimes being someone from an ethnic background, you notice there's not many people like you. And for us, it's about creating a feedback loop where the more people of ethnic background that you see in the industry, the more people that want to join, the more people that can progress and move up the career ladder, essentially.
Well said. Well said.
And it is a funny industry, and like what I think Natalie or Theo said earlier, is like people don't tend to kind of grow up and go, hey, I want to go into market research. So it's like a double career. It's a double thing. I think I'm actually one of the few people in market research who did choose to go into it, but I had a different career before that, and then I learned, experienced qualitative research from a client side, and then I chose to go into it. But people think I'm weird.
I still can't explain to my dad what it is I actually do. He's asked me about 15 times in the last few years, and every time I try to explain it to him, a month later he's like, so I'm just having a conversation with my friend, but what is it that you actually do again?
Some things will never change. So the slightly offbeat question that I wanted to ask your personal opinions of is the use of the term BAME.
Good,
So,
very contentious point.
Thank you. Yeah, I know not everybody agrees that it is, you know, the best terminology to use. So what are your thoughts? And
I think, I mean, we've recently changed all of the text on the website to remove that and start saying people of ethnic minority or ethnically diverse backgrounds. I think the big issue with the term, and two of us have already used it, so you know, it shows that not all of us have an issue with it. But I think that one of the biggest points is that it lumps everyone together, and that's something that, you know, shouldn't really be done, because, you know, a black man's experience is going to be different from an Asian man's experience, you know, or a black woman's experience is going to be different from an East Asian, Chinese lady's experience, you know. So lumping everyone together it just feels like another, you know, another other.
I think where it's a bit tricky is the fact that, you know, BAME is such a widely used term. So if we're just going to, you know, speak about it in a quick way that everyone's going to understand, everyone understands what BAME is. Just as somebody of, you know, an ethnic background, you know, for me, I personally wouldn't use it, and I personally don't all the way feel comfortable with it, but I understand it's a widely used term, so it's not something that's offensive, but it's obviously not preferable.
Okay. So of course this interview is on behalf of the ICG, so I run the social media strategy. What would you say is the best way for ICG members and other independent researchers to engage with your content?
Natalie, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I think one of the ideal ways would be just to be an advocate and help us with promotion. I think that's an easy thing that anybody can kind of get involved with. We need as much help. You know, we've had amazing response so far, and, you know, we've had so much support so far, which has been amazing. But obviously we need all the help that we can to keep this going and to get the word out more. So yeah, definitely promotion. And also in terms of the masterclasses, so Thea touched on it a bit earlier in the conversation, but the masterclasses are really about utilizing our allies that are out there, and, you know, help, and, you know, recognizing the fact that they have, you know, amazing expertise in whatever fields that they are in, and knowledge that they want to share, and also the passion that they also want to get involved and help as well.
Okay, so the best thing that we can do is be an advocate, support you, promote you, talk, have conversations.
Well, I think there's other ways as well. You can you know, suggest mentors, suggest mentees. You know, people like me who became ICG members and have started up their own company and could benefit from you know, a mentor who you know, can relate to me and has been there and done that. We could really start a referral scheme whereby can work hand in hand. And likewise, you know, people who are being mentored who want to start their own thing, or you know, don't know the right associations that they should have, we can refer back to the ICG. I think there's lots of different ways you can partner up. I don't know how many events you guys do, but you know.
It varies. There's quite, I mean, obviously nothing face-to-face right now, but there are a lot throughout the year of smaller events, and then a few bigger ones like the AGM, the summer party, the like Christmas or like holiday party. They're the main ones that people tend to come to usually.
But we're really keen on collaboration.
Good.
And Tatinda's heading up the strategic partnerships, so you'll be hearing from Tatinda.
Excellent. We'll definitely have to have another conversation about this then, for sure. Okay, so really, we really do want to support you on this. what is the main message that you would like to put out there to the research industry and also to society as a whole?
Well, our mission is to, you know, be seen and heard in an industry that we love, but currently being underrepresented in, and we want to really spread that out there and get that message heard by everyone and understood as well. We'd really like we'd really like people to understand the issue. You know, going back to the pledge of, you know, 13% in the UK, having people understand that that's not actually enough if you're in London, you know, really setting realistic benchmarks and having people actually get on board to try and make a difference. I mean, we're having a fantastic response, so I can't complain at all. But just you know, just want to keep the conversation going and make sure that this isn't just a craze right now because of what's happened over in America.
Absolutely. Yeah. Natalie? Oh, sorry, Tatenda, go on, and then Natalie, I'll come to you after.
Yeah, and for the industry, I think what we want to say is we're here to support the industry and be as entity that can help them, you know, go through this sort of difficult minefield for them in many ways. You know, as we were saying before, they sometimes struggle to bring up this topic, to talk about this topic. We're here to help with that. That's essentially what we're here for as well.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant.
Oh,
Very
you
clear.
took what?
Oh, go on, Natalie, give us a final nugget.
Natalie, you can plug the event. Why don't you plug the event?
Yes, come to our launch event, 29th of July. It's a virtual event. There'll be a virtual DJ. We'll have a Q&A. There'll be quizzes. So it'll be lots of fun. Get to meet the whole team and learn a bit more about CORE.
Okay, brilliant, perfect. Thank you very much. All right, we've got a couple of minutes left, but I was just wanted to ask, just interested to know, presumably this is something you're all doing alongside your more like full-time
paid jobs.
work.
But this is not a money-making scheme in any way. You know, we're trying to really give back. That's why the mentorship is free. That's why we're doing all of our events, and everything is all about raising money for causes. You know, this is a passion project. As I said, this is why we still got our day jobs, because you know, this is something that we're all passionate about and we want to see changed.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, I appreciate it so much. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. And the idea. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask me before we finish?
From my perspective, I guess, what prompted you to decide to have this interview? Is it something you guys have been thinking about for a while?
So the reason that, you know, the real kind of instigator for this activity as a whole, like there's other stuff that we're looking at doing as well, came from a conversation that started within the network. You know, the forum's confidential.
I saw that. I saw that conversation happening.
So because it's a confidential forum, you know, I can't sort of talk about the content, but it was clear to us as the ICG committee that this was something that we needed to think about more. So we had a meeting to talk about the conversations that have been had, what we thought would be the best, most productive, you know, thing that we could offer to society, but also to the market research industry. And so we've just started to like talk about, you know, what we can do, and again, not in a faddy way, but like we appreciate this is actually a really genuine issue within the industry that needs to be addressed. And there are other inclusion and diversity issues that also need to be addressed, and we will be looking at those as well. So that's where, that's how the conversation started. And then I saw CORE on LinkedIn, must have been. And Natalie, I saw that you were involved, and Natalie and I have worked together in the past. And yeah, so I just thought, hey, we should talk.
Nice. Good timing.
And
Oh, yeah.
you know, this is where we want to step in as we'll push, we'll perhaps carry the heaviest load. If everyone else can get behind us and do their bit, then I'm sure we can all see better days, more colourful days.
I believe so too. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you very much.